Have you ever tried to hide your wealth? Have you ever avoided a conversation because you didn't want someone to make assumptions about how much money you have? That's what we're talking about today because it shows up in more places than we admit. And in a community like the dance studio world, where so many women are building businesses, it matters. Not because we need to brag, but because secrecy and shame around money keep us disconnected from each other and sometimes even from ourselves. So let's get into it. I've noticed something I do sometimes in conversations. I filter what I share based on how I'm reading the room. Not because I'm worried about being inappropriate, not because the topic is private by nature, but because I'm thinking, if I say this, they're gonna think something about me. And I catch myself doing it most when I assume somebody else is struggling financially. This can look like buying a new car and parking it far away so nobody at the studio sees it. It can look like taking a vacation and only telling a safe group of people. It can look like not mentioning that you pay for grocery delivery, cleaning service, childcare support, even though those choices are part of how you run your life. It can look like avoiding conversations about investing or working with financial professional because it feels like you just said something too wealthy out loud. And that's what's interesting is that it isn't about arrogance. A lot of times it's about discomfort. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of being misunderstood, or the fear of becoming the topic of someone else's story. I asked myself recently, why am I doing that? If I'm with friends or colleagues, what's the real motivation behind hiding parts of my life? And I think the answer for many of this is this: we want to belong. We don't want to stand out. We don't want to be perceived as too much. We don't want someone to think our success makes us less relatable. And in spaces where women are socialized to keep things smooth and comfortable, it can feel safer to shrink than to be fully seen. But here's what I want to offer. Sometimes we call it being considerate, but it's actually fear. Another thing I've learned is we think we're in mixed company, but we're mostly guessing. You do not actually know someone's financial reality just by looking. You don't know whether someone's lifestyle is funded by savings, stability, generational support, or debt. You don't know whether someone who looks like they have it all is stressed every month. You don't know whether someone who looks like they're scraping by has no debt, a paid off home, and a retirement plan. So when your brain says, don't say that, they can't relate, it may not be a fact. And it's just a thought. And the cost of that thought is that you're losing your authenticity. It's you editing yourself in rooms where you're trying to build relationships. And now let's bring this into the dance studio world for a second. We have studio owners at every level. Some are trying to make payroll. Some are stable, saving, and finally paying themselves well. Some are building multi six figure, seven figure businesses. And in any industry, but especially one dominated by women, money can become a quiet sorting system. Instead of talking about real numbers, we'll talk about enrollment numbers, and people assume that enrollment equals profit or salary, but it does not. You can have a smaller studio and be wildly profitable. You can have a large studio and be drowning in expenses. You could have 80 students and pay yourself well because your pricing costs and systems are all dialed in. And you can have 600 students and still feel like you're living from auto pay to auto pay. Revenue and wealth are not the same. Visibility is not the same as stability. I was once on a Zoom call with studio owners at all different levels. And the facilitator asked, how many of you want to make six figures in your personal income? A bunch of hands went up. Then they asked, how many of you already make six figures in your personal income? The room was quiet. People hesitated. They needed to be urged to raise their hands. And when they finally did, something shifted because seeing that other women had done it made it feel possible. They weren't bragging, they were just proof. When nobody's honest, everybody feels alone. When a few people are honest, it creates possibility. I'm not telling you to share everything. Privacy is healthy, boundaries are healthy. But there's a difference between privacy and hiding. Privacy is I choose what I share. Hiding is I'm afraid of what you'll think. So here's what I want you to hear today. Stop abandoning yourself in order to feel safe. Lead with authenticity and not anxiety about what other people are going to think. If something naturally comes up, let it be true. Let it be normal. Let your life be your life. And if someone reacts poorly, that's just information. It's not about your worth. It's about the relationship. A true friend could handle your success. A true friend and a colleague is not going to attack you and treat you badly because of what you've said. A grounded community of entrepreneurs can celebrate you and still be honest about their own challenges. So, what if the thing that you're afraid to say is actually what someone else needs to hear? They don't need all your details, but because they need proof that a woman can build a financial stability without becoming mean, cutthroat, all those things, that it's within reach, that there is hope. Imagine offering another woman hope when you talk to someone and you reveal what your lifestyle is and whatever level of wealth that you may have. What if they hear that as a point of inspiration? In a culture that teaches women to be quiet about money and all of that, like your openness could be powerful. It can normalize ambition. It can normalize paying yourself. It can normalize wealth as something that we can build ethically and use intentionally. Yeah, and some people are going to be struggling. We can have compassion for that without pretending success is not existent or pretending that we're in a different place than we actually are. I want to leave you with a few questions. Have you ever avoided mentioning a vacation, a purchase, a service you pay for, or an investment decision because you didn't want someone to judge you? Have you ever minimized your wins so you could stay comfortable in a group? Have you ever assumed that other people couldn't handle knowing you're doing well? Have you ever hidden something out of fear and then tried to pretend that it was just being polite? I invite you to be curious about this. Don't criticize yourself, just be curious because the goal isn't to become insensitive. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself just so you can feel like you belong. We don't want to lose authenticity. We want to come forward, lead with authenticity, lead with who we really are. And let your success be a visible way that feels grounded to you. And if you want a more financially honest industry, it starts with a few people being brave enough to tell the truth. Until next time, I wish you the very best. Bye bye. One quick thing before you go. If you've been dealing with unanswered messages, last minute coverage, or a team that needs constant reminders, I wrote a resource for you. Studio Staffing Success has been published and it's filled with practical staffing systems to help you build a stronger team and get your time back. It's available on Amazon. Grab it, and I will see you next week.